I'm 32, but I feel like I'm 22. I'm in the best shape of my life, which is great timing because I'm getting married in just a few weeks. But here's the thing, I haven't been depriving myself or following any strict diet. And after the wedding, I'm not expecting to put back on or regain weight, which is something you often see after a big event like this. Really, I'm probably going to stay much the same. How? Well, it all comes down to these 7 food rules that I have been following for years now. And if we haven't met before, I'm Maria and I'm a registered dietitian. Welcome to the channel. So I'm going to walk you through each of these 7 food rules, what they are, how they work, and most importantly, how you can apply them to your own life. Because this video is not about me. I want you to get to your goals fast so you can get on with living your best life. Now, rule number 1 is all about meal timing, because when you eat actually does matter. For a long time, we thought that weight control was all about calories in and calories out. But science tells us that it is really not that simple. Meal timing plays a big role, especially when it comes to metabolic health and long-term weight control, because our bodies are wired to a 24-hour circadian rhythm. And this internal clock influences everything, from how we burn energy to how we store fat. And during the day, your body is primed to move and use energy. And at night, it naturally starts to wind down and store energy. And that is why eating late into the evening can work against your metabolism. Think of it like this. It's not impossible to eat late and still manage your weight. Plenty of shift workers and frequent flyers can do this. But it does make things harder, especially as we get older. So what does this look like in real life? Well, for me, what it means is that I don't skip breakfast or follow intermittent fasting where I'm trying not to eat until midday every day. Instead, I front load my calories to earlier in the day, usually with a good proper breakfast and a satisfying lunch. As the saying goes, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and supper like a pauper. And dinner is still a real meal, but it's just in general a little bit lighter. So I will usually try to stop eating around 2 to 3 hours before bed. Now, sometimes people will hear this and they feel that they need to grab breakfast the minute they wake up at like 6 a.m. But you don't have to be that regimented either. For me, I typically wake up at 5:30, 6 a.m. and I don't want to have breakfast that early. So it is okay to wait an hour or two until you genuinely feel hungry. You don't need to be rushing for your bowl of cereal as soon as your alarm clock goes off. But what matters most is aligning your eating window with your body's natural rhythm. Eating during those daylight hours, being a bit more mindful in the evening and letting your body rest overnight. And this way, you're not just managing calories, you're actually working with your body. You're working with your biology and not against it. And I'm often asked by people, do I intermittent fast? And no, I don't intentionally anyway. But my body usually does get a 12-hour fast every night because I'll stop eating around 7 or 8 p.m. and I won't have breakfast again until 7 or 8 a.m. And that helps me feel at my best because it is good to give your digestive system a little bit of a break too. But it doesn't need to be extreme fasting windows. Now, the next rule, or guideline is probably a better word, is volume eating. And this is a concept that has gotten a lot of attention in the media lately, for people using it as a fresh approach to weight loss. And it's pretty straightforward. You prioritize the consumption of high volume, low calorie foods, such as your fruits, your vegetables, and your soups. And this means you end up eating, without even trying to, but less of the high calorie foods. And it allows you to eat very generous servings and feel very satisfied. So the high water and the high fiber content of these foods keeps me feeling really, really full. It's good for digestion and it even promotes mindful eating because you have to eat it slowly simply because there's a lot of fiber and you have to do a lot more chewing. And I never feel deprived when I'm eating this way because every time I sit down to have a meal, I have a big plate of food. I don't feel like I'm just having a miserable little salad. But it's not about just loading up your plate with lettuce and calling it a day. It's about intentionally adding more bulk and more fiber to your meals in a way that does feel satisfying and doable. Because some people can take this to an extreme and fill up on loads of low calorie, high volume foods. And then you're just going to be walking around feeling bloated and uncomfortable all of the time. So you don't want that either. But for breakfast, what it could look like is just having your oatmeal, but making sure you have some berries or some fruit in there too. And a really handy trick is something like zucchini. You can actually grate that into your oats and you won't even notice it. If you're more of a savory person and would say you have eggs or tofu, for example, it's having mushrooms, some spinach or tomatoes on the side as well. Then at lunch, I will always have some bit of a salad. And that doesn't mean you can't have your bread. So if I was having a sandwich, for example, I would have a salad with that or a piece of fruit, something to bulk it up. And then dinner is probably one of the easiest, but you should always try to be having at least 2 servings of vegetables here. And if you really have to, you can add some grated cheese over the cauliflower for your dinner, or be a little bit more generous with the olive oil to make it taste better. But all of these things, you're still being really good by bringing in that bulk. Snacks is an area where many people can fall short for this, but I would really try and have some piece of fruit or some carrot sticks or some slices of cucumber or something like that with your snack. It's just about building that habit of asking yourself, what can I add? What fruit or veg can I add to this meal or this snack? And the best part is that when you eat like this, it feels very abundant. It's psychologically so satisfying to see so much food on your plate. And honestly, if you do just this one thing, you're going to feel fuller, feel more satisfied, and end up eating less calories overall without even trying to do so. And I share lots of recipes over on my Instagram where I have meals centered around these principles. So if you're looking for inspiration, I'd recommend following me over there. And in fact, I recently did a high protein, low calorie series, which got really good feedback from people. So it might be worth checking out. Now, the next principle is all about variety. And specifically, I aim to eat 30 different plant-based foods every single week. Now, it might sound like a lot, so just let me explain, because it can be easier than you might think. So research suggests that eating a wide variety of plant foods helps support a diverse gut microbiome. And this plays a role in everything from digestion to lowering inflammation, to mood, immunity, and even weight management. And when I say plants, I don't just mean your fruits and your vegetables. It also includes whole grains like your oats, your quinoa, your cereals. It also includes your nuts and your seeds. It even includes spices like sprinkling some cinnamon on your porridge or adding some turmeric into a curry. So the idea is to get a wide variety of these plant-based ingredients into your daily diet, not just having the exact same foods all the time on repeat. Now, 30 sounds like a stretch every single week, but this is how I manage it. If you are going to the store and you're buying, we'll say, a bag of frozen carrots, don't buy a bag of frozen carrots, buy a bag of frozen mixed veg. That way you're going to have carrots, peas, and broccoli. You're getting 3 plant foods instead of 1. Similarly, instead of berries, you could buy mixed berries. Instead of just buying almonds, you could buy mixed nuts. And then on different meals like yogurt or cereal, even stir fries, you can sprinkle different nuts and seeds for some crunch, some texture, and you're getting in more plants. Again, it's all about building the habit. And many of us get into a routine where we have the fruits and vegetables that we like. So for me, I know I love raspberries and I love kiwis and I love cauliflower. So they would be the ones that I buy most weeks. But it's good to mix it up and try and rotate this so you are getting that diversity into your diet, and your gut will really thank you for this. Now, the next principle that I follow, and this is a big one, but I plan and prioritize all of my meals and snacks around protein, for the most part anyway. Now, you don't need to be obsessive and you don't need to be counting every gram of protein that you have in a day. But for me, I have a general goal where at every meal I'll try to make sure that I'm getting in around 20 grams of protein, and at most snacks I'm getting in 10 grams of protein. Now, of course, sometimes I have a piece of fruit or I have some dark chocolate before bed and there isn't much protein in that, and that's fine. But for the most part, I do try to make sure all of my meals and snacks have some protein in them. And by doing this, this means that I will get around 80 to 100 grams of protein every day. Maybe a little bit less some days, maybe a little bit more other days, but that is okay. You just need to hit an overall range. It doesn't need to be an exact number every single day. And what your protein needs are going to be different to mine. It can depend on what your goals are. If you're in a bigger body, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're very active. So if you want to learn more about your specific protein needs, I have a free protein guide and I will leave it in the description box down below for you. I'm actually going to do an updated video on this as well soon, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. But the key here is that I always consider my protein source when I'm building a meal. So at breakfast, if I'm having oats, for example, I'll use regular dairy milk because there's a good amount of protein in that. And then I'll generously top it with Greek yogurt. It's easy, high in protein, and I love it. It tastes great. Then at lunch or at dinner, I'll just make sure that there is a good serving of beans or lentils or chicken or tofu or something else, that there is a protein source there. And once you become in the habit of doing this, hitting your daily protein needs becomes a lot easier and you don't even have to think about it. And I don't use a lot of protein powder in my daily routine, simply because I find it quite easy to get enough protein through the meals that I eat. But I do use them occasionally in baking or in smoothies, for example, and they can be a useful source of protein for people who really struggle with getting their protein in. And I just made a new video all about how to choose the best protein powder for you. I'll leave it linked below, and if it's not out yet, it should be out next week or the week after, because I get so many comments asking me about what is the best protein powder. Now, I do find that snacks can be a little bit trickier. Sometimes they need a little bit more attention or creativity to get that protein in. And look, if some snacks don't have protein, that is fine. But for the most part, I do like to make sure if I'm having fruit, I'll have some Greek yogurt with it, or I'll have some nuts and seeds, or I'll have a protein bar as a snack, or if I'm having like carrot sticks and hummus, I actually have my own hummus recipe, which you'll also find on my website, but it's a high protein hummus and it's really nice. So it's just about getting a little bit more creative and thinking outside the box. But there is a lot more snacks available now as well that have a decent amount of protein in them. Now, the next rule isn't about food, it's about movement. I move my body most days, and not just for physical health, more so probably for my mental health. Exercise is huge for my mood, my energy levels, and my overall quality of life. I'm a nicer person when I've been going to the gym or going for regular walks. And a lot of people, and it makes me so sad, they think of exercise still as just this method of burning calories. But exercise is actually something you can do to help build your body to be strong and resilient for many, many years to come. When I'm in my 70s, 80s, 90s, I want to be able to get up off my own seat. I want to be able to carry my own shopping. I want to be as independent as I possibly can. And exercise is important for your muscles, which are functional. You need your muscles to move, but also for your bones. And bone health is crucial, especially for women. So prioritizing exercise shouldn't be seen as a form of punishment. It should be a way of looking after your body and prioritizing your future self. And what my exercise routine typically looks like is I will go to the gym and I will do strength training around 3 times a week. Sometimes I'll go 4 times, sometimes I'll go 2 times. It just depends on the week. And of course, there are weeks where I don't go at all. Maybe I am just really busy in work and I haven't organized and prioritized myself very well. Or maybe I'm traveling, but I just make sure that when I can, I get straight back into my routine as soon as possible. And then I'm quite lucky in that with my job, I work in a hospital and it's big. So I typically will easily get 6, 7, 8,000 steps a day without even trying. But if I've been in meetings all day or just back-to-back clinics, I will prioritize then getting out in the evening and going for a walk, even if it's just for 10 minutes for some fresh air. And of course, there are days when you don't feel like doing anything, and that is okay. My trick or my kind of guiding rule to myself when this happens is if I wake up, if my alarm goes off at 5:30 and I really don't want to go to the gym, I ask myself, why don't I want to go? Is it because I just don't feel like it? I'm mentally just like drained and I just don't want to go. When that happens, I make myself go because I know that mentally I will feel better afterwards. But if there is a day where I wake up and I feel physically drained, I feel like I didn't sleep enough, I feel like my body is sore from the last workout, or I'm really tired, then if my physical body is telling me it can't work out today, it needs rest, then I will rest. And not every day is perfect, that is okay. But it's about building habits that look after your future self, both physically and mentally. Now, as a dietitian, I'm all about trying to get as much nutrition from food as possible. But the reality is that we can't. Take vitamin D, for example. It's such an important vitamin for health, immunity, fertility, everything. But in food, it's hard to get decent amounts. Eggs and salmon are good sources, but you have to eat a lot of these every single day to get adequate vitamin D intakes. And it's not recommended to eat 3 fillets of salmon every day. So you have to be practical and you have to be strategic. So yes, I do take supplements, and most people need to take supplements, but you don't need to take loads, and you don't need to be taking things if you have no idea what they are for. For most of my adult life to date, the only supplement I ever took was vitamin D. And more recently, I started taking creatine because there's just excellent evidence out there for creatine supplements, particularly for women for strength benefits, for mood benefits, for cognitive benefits, the list goes on. But again, I know what I'm taking, the dose I should be taking, and why I'm taking it. Now, right now, I will be fully transparent. I've started taking a lot more supplements, but that's simply because of the life stage that I'm at. So this isn't for everyone. I am just thinking ahead in terms of fertility, egg quality, and all of these things. And there is actually fantastic research showing how optimizing your diet, optimizing your nutrition, and how supplements can play a role with making sure you're ovulating regularly, all of this kind of stuff. It's a topic for a whole other video. But you just shouldn't be taking, there's so many things out there. The supplement industry really bugs me. There's so many things out there that are really poorly evidence-based, and they're just cheap to produce, easy to sell, easy to market, and you can be doing so much more harm than good, and you're just wasting a lot of money. So supplements are definitely needed, but please just know that more isn't always better, and that you should know what you're taking and why you're taking it. Collagen supplements are another one that I'm asked a lot about lately, and it's something that I have actually started taking because the evidence is very good for them, in particular for skin. I have a whole video that I'm going to do on that. But the thing with collagen supplements is that as we age, we start to produce less collagen. So you're better off actually taking the collagen supplements when you're younger, when you are still producing collagen. So it's actually better to start sooner rather than later. But I'll cover that in a future video. But again, you should always be looking at evidence and making sure that there is a good rationale for what you're taking, and you know that you're taking it in a dose that's actually legitimate, because it's very easy for companies to just sprinkle a tiny little bit of collagen, for example, into something. You go away and take it, but that dose is actually really insignificant and never ever going to make any significant difference. So you need to be informed. Now, the final rule that I follow that I think is so important is that I don't deny myself anything. If I want chocolate, or if I'm out at a restaurant and I want to order dessert, I will do this. But I will be very honest, I hate when people say this online because I think it is so misleading. Yes, I will allow myself to eat whatever I want, but I do not wake up in the morning and eat a sugary cereal and then eat a takeaway for lunch and then have ice cream for dinner. Because if I ate that way, like, yes, it would feel those foods taste good in the moment, but I wouldn't feel good. I'd feel like low in energy, and yeah, it just wouldn't agree with my body and I wouldn't feel good. So for me, it's all about allowing myself to have freedom, but also choosing foods that support how I want to feel, which is energized, satisfied, and balanced. And the key to making this work is learning simple tactics in your everyday cooking, baking, meal planning that take your healthy food and they make it tastes delicious, because it's possible. And it's something I have been working on myself over the last few years and helping my clients with too, because healthy eating and nutrition and cooking, there is a lot of science behind it, but when you know what you're doing, you can make anything taste really, really good. For example, I often make these really creamy, delicious Ninja creamy desserts, and they taste like ice cream. I love having them and I love looking forward to them, and I never feel denied. Sometimes at the weekend, when I have a little bit more time, I make these baked oats for breakfast, and it literally tastes like I'm eating like apple pie if I make the apple pie flavored ones. Or I made these raspberry and white chocolate baked oats the other day, and they were absolutely insane as well. And this is an approach that I think is so important. It actually has inspired me. I'm working on a recipe ebook and meal plans at the moment, and the whole concept behind it is that it's food that you want to eat every single day, but you also can eat every single day because it is nourishing but also delicious and satisfying. Hopefully I'll have them ready in a couple of weeks, so keep an eye out for when they are ready. But I really strongly believe that you can eat well and never feel deprived. Of course, allow yourself to have everything, but at the same time, it shouldn't be that you eat well during the week and then you allow yourself something off plan at the weekends. So those are the 7 food and lifestyle principles that I follow, and they have made a massive difference in how I feel, in how I look, in how I eat, and in how I live. So just to quickly recap, I eat in line with my circadian rhythm. I focus on volume eating. I plan my meals prioritized around protein. I aim for 30 different plants a week. I move my body regularly in a way that feels good for me. I supplement what I need to supplement. And I make all of my food taste delicious. These things are not extreme, and they're not necessarily very trendy either, but they are habits that I have built over time. and they've helped me stay consistent and feel great. Especially during such an exciting time in my life where I'm getting married and I'm having lots of events and parties and wedding cake tastings. And I've been able to really be fully present and enjoy it all. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure to give the video a like. It really does help my channel, and subscribe because I have new videos every single week. And comment below which one of these maybe surprised you or which one you're going to try and focus on next. As always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Stay happy and stay healthy, and I will see you again next week. Thanks for watching.